Hi guys, welcome to tonight's webinar, Teaching A2 Music Technology. The coursework should be quite a good one tonight, so we're just going to look broadly at what to expect whilst teaching the A2 specification. There's some good stuff here. I really like the A2 coursework. Generally, it's a bit more challenging for the students, and it gives them a bit more free reign as well. So it's quite nice. So let's see what we're going to do. So before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit about what we've been doing this week. So there's a brand new course for the task 1A, La 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 coursework. That's looking good. We've got 4 lessons on there so far. So I started that at the beginning of the week. Should get a couple more lessons in there this week. The revision cards and quizzes are well underway for the course and the sole course, so they should start coming through in the next couple of weeks, which would be good. One of our staff authors is currently working on a score for the Task 3A coursework. He's starting with Next to Me, and then he'll move on to Ready for the Floor. So they should be ready in the next couple of weeks as well. So lots and lots going on. And as promised in my first webinar, I've also finished my first full lesson plan, and I'm hoping to keep that going. So hopefully we'll have a couple of them a week. Haven't quite sorted out the newsletter yet, so just bear with me on that one. But the content is coming through, and I'm posting it on Twitter. So if you're following me on Twitter, please check that stuff out. And just the minor things as well. We've also been working on the A2 scheme of work, trying to rejig that and just make sure that's ready. Okay, so same as last week. After I've finished delivering this short presentation, there'll be a live Q&A session. So feel free to come along, press the live call button, and come and have a chat and see if we can answer some of your questions, and we'll do our best on that one. Okay. So A2 Edexcel coursework. Same drill as AS really. You've got 3 tasks, Task 3A, Task 3B, Task 3C, each worth 40 marks. You've got a logbook. This time the logbook isn't worth any marks, but it's really important that you fill that in properly, concisely, otherwise you will lose marks across the board. If the examiner reference against the logbook, you're going to lose marks, okay? So how I deliver the course. Once again, same as AS really. I think about these in a non-linear way. In my first couple of years, I very much delivered this course, Task 3A, Task 3B, and Task 3C, and we lost a lot of time. And it's so important not to lose any time in this course. Otherwise, that last term 4, when you're approaching that deadline of May the 15th, it gets really hectic, and the kids are like, oh my God, oh my God. So things that I do, Task 3B is the one I start with. I will start that in term 6 of the AS course. So term 6 of the AS, after they've come from their exams, I'm going to get about 4 weeks with them. So rather than waste any of that time just messing around and doing whatever, I get started with the recording tracks, so Task 3B. And we'll get all the recording done, ready when they come back in term 1 of the A2 course. So straight away, Task 3B is started. In term 1, before the specifications are even published, we'll just crack on with the mixing. We'll just keep going. So all the recording's been done, and we're cracking on with the mixing. Then I won't start 3A straight away. I'll start 3C. 3C needs a lot of, or not a lot, but it needs a little bit of planning, a little bit of preparation, and a little bit of experimentation. And actually, whilst you're delivering kind of more advanced skills to them just through your lessons, this is a good time to hit the 3C stuff. Look at the briefs that are published, and just have a go at some of the more technology involved in it. So I'll go in term 1, mixing for 3B and on to 3C. And then in term 2, that's when I'll really start the 3A. Once I've got a decent score, once I've sorted out kind of any of the pitfalls for my students where they might fall down, we'll start the 3A. This is just maximizing the time. So after term 2, you'll pretty much have all 3 pieces well underway. And it really works. So let's have a look at the individual pieces. So task 3A, what to expect. So they obviously don't get a score for this one. Like I said, we're creating the next to me score first. That's the one I'm going to do with my students this year, I think. I will give them the option to do both, but you know, obviously it's completely up to them. But I think the one I quite like is the next to me. I think that's going to be a good one to do. So same as the 1A, once you've got the track off of iTunes or whatever, import it into your sequence, and get all the tempos right, get your layouts right, and start working out some of this stuff. Um, it's a good thing to have the music in your actual sequence, just like quick referencing. It saves a lot of time. Probably this one you're going to get your students to probably play more notes in rather than sequence them. A lot of mine, once they get past the AS course, they get a bit more confident and they start to like to play in their parts. Remember, you've got 3 audio tracks to include, so you have to have a vocal, and you can have 2 extra parts. So think about these really wisely and make sure that they will fit with the track as well. Try. I tend not to do the audio straight away either. I tend to get all the sequence parts down first, and then I'll put the audio in once the timbres have been set. That saves a lot of time. What else can I say about this? It's very similar to the 1A. The 1A. The only main difference is the extra bits of audio and the fact that you don't get a score. The marking is similar, but rather than getting 8 for pitch and 8 for rhythm, you get 6. And you'll get 8 marks for the capturing of audio. A lot of my students do find that quite difficult, making the audio mix with the actual sequence tracks. But generally, once you get all the data input, generally it's not too bad. Task 3B. So for task 3B, same as in the AS, I will get them to pretty do one song. Last year, I think we did Princess of China. We've also done Forever Young. We've also done Mr. Brightside. We've done quite a few. I have found that you can speed up a lot of time if you're getting them all to do the same song. You can speed up a lot of time. At A2, the students tend to rebel ever so slightly, and they kind of say, "Sir, I want to do my own song." And if they're confident enough, I think sometimes you have to kind of go with that and let them do that. The mark scheme for 3B is broken up into 2 sections. So you've got microphone placement and noise and distortion is part of your recording process, and then everything from EQ management down to stereo field is all part of your mixing process. So making sure you get those recordings as polished as possible in the early days is going to guarantee you 11 marks away. So that's good. And if you're using seasoned musicians, that's not going to be very difficult to do. Just watching those meters, making sure that all the audio comes in properly, and making sure that the students understand where good microphone placement is. In the coming weeks, I'm going to do a webinar on maybe placing mics for drums. Just a simple one. We'll maybe bat some ideas around about that. There's another thing I want to go through on task 3B, and that's how I plan my sessions. You'll hear me say quite a bit. It's all about the time, and it really is. You'll waste so much time recording, and that's why I tend to use. I do use my students quite a bit for the bass and the guitars and the vocals, but I'll pretty much always get the drums done by a professional, just so that I can lay down a click track and everything is in time. It just makes it so much easier. What I've got in front of me here is how I lay out my time. So I'll get myself off of timetable, and this is the same at AS as well. I'll get myself off a timetable for probably about 4 days, to be honest, depending on how many students you've got. This timetable is really based, the timing's a bit rough, to be fair. I don't generally give them an hour, it's about 45 minutes, but this is based on maybe having 10 students. Four days off timetable for about 10 students, maybe 12 students is absolutely fine. You'll pretty much get it all. It'll be a hell of a day, and I normally start about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we normally finish by 5 in the evening. But it'll be a hell of a day. But in 4 days, you'll pretty much get them all done. So on the first day, I'll get my drummers, and my drummer is normally my percussion player and my bass guitar player as well. So it makes it really easy. Everything's set up. So the bass is normally DI'd. We get a percussion mic set up in the booth, and we get the drums set up with some nice soundboards. The students do have to take complete control of their recording. It's one thing I didn't say in my last webinar, is yes, they will record the same song, but they have to have their own version of the song. They do have to be in complete control of their own recording. So once I've got my drummer in place, and we're going to do roughly 4 tracks. So we'll normally do drums, shaker, tambourine, and bass guitar. So there's my 4 tracks down straight away. The students will come in, they'll place the microphones, which normally just be already there. They've just got to put them in the right place. They'll record their parts, then they'll press save, ready for the next day, and then we'll open up the next person's gear, the next person's project, and they'll come in and they'll do theirs. The next day, the same drill, but this time I'll probably use a keyboardist. I've got one of our teachers is a fantastic keyboard player and guitarist, so we normally get them in just to kind of lay down those parts. Once again, we'll use the studio for the piano sounds, and we'll just DI that, and we'll use the booth for the electric guitars, and we'll maybe put the amp in the booth. And it runs through, and it really works out well that way. It does mean that you don't have to get the students out of timetable for very long. It's just you that has to come out. And because my students are in A level, they generally got frees, so they normally don't lose much time in other lessons. So this kind of scheme does work quite well. What else do I have to say about that? I think that's pretty much it. Okay, free C. This is my favourite every single year, and every single year I pretty much guide my students towards the pop song option. This year is Nelson Mandela. It looks like a brilliant piece. I think there's going to be so much going to that. The reason I guide them towards the pop song one, for my students, it's just completely relevant. They just get a lot out of it. They love kind of this composing option. They love this arranging option, and they just generally find it a lot easier to do than maybe the film one. Although the film this year doesn't look too bad. You've got a cityscape, and I can see some kind of American Beauty soundtrack going over the top of that. Maybe if you are going to do the soundscape, have a listen to what's his name, Newman. Thomas Newman. A lot of his tracks would fit really well with that, just piano, echoey piano. So that would be a good option, or not too bad an option. The pop song is by far my favourite, and for the life of me I can't remember what the third option was. Oh my goodness, it's completely out of my head. No, it'll come back to me in a minute. Anyway, so my students are going to go down the Nelson Mandela route, and I'm going to push them into that option straight away. If they rebel against that, obviously get them changed over as quick as possible. Do not waste time forcing them to do one option if their heart's in a different direction. How the mark scheme works for this, so that the top 4 options are completely compulsory, and you have to hit them on the head. The bottom 5 will all be marked, but only the top 3 will be put into account when it comes to actually marking it. Technology is a massive part of this composition, so you're allowed to go full range with it. Sampling is encouraged, synthesis is encouraged, sound manipulation, audio, MIDI, the lot. Everything that you've learned over the lot, or everything your students have learned over the last 2 years has to go into this project. Nothing held back. Try vocoders, try advanced skills. It's all about the advanced skills. Yeah, I don't think there's much more I can say about that. Like I say, it's fairly similar. No, sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought with that one. We'll come back to it. If you guys pop in and I'll try. If you've got any questions, I'll try and answer your questions as well. Like I said, I've just lost my train of thought with that one a little bit. The logbook. Once again, with the logbook, you're not going to get marked like you did in the AS logbook, but they really do want to see that it's carefully filled in, and if it's not, and they want to reference, if the examiner wants to reference, oh, has the student managed to do this? Have they written about how they've used the samples or whatever, and you haven't written about it, they can deduct marks. So it's a good thing if you just make sure your students have filled this logbook in properly. Okay. Finally, okay, the Q&A. So if anyone's around and you want to click on the live call button, please do come and have a chat with us now. Whilst we wait, I'm just going to hang out for a couple of minutes, see if anyone comes in. Whilst we wait, I'm just going to go over to the portfolio and we'll just scan through that for a few seconds and see what that piece was that I forgot about. Okay, is that working? I think that's working. Okay, so what we got? So this is the task 3A. One thing I didn't cover in the actual one is about the actual writing time and reading time. It's the same as AS, so you've got 60 hours in total to complete all the coursework. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to use 20 on each. And remember, if your students decide to change the work at any point, they can, and you just have to scrub the time and start all over again. So it's very flexible. They can experiment as long as they don't use any of those experiments, or as long as they re-put those experiments back in. It's okay. You don't have to log all of those hours that they've spent messing around, as long as they obviously don't use it as their real piece. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes I'll get them to start up a new project and just work on some ideas, and once they've got it, we'll delete that demo project, and then they can do those ideas or input those ideas a lot quicker into their main project without losing some of that control condition. So yeah, I mean, ways around it really. In the past 8 years that I've been doing this, I don't think I've ever used all of the hours. Normally it's about, well, I don't know, it's 15 hours for each probably. Once again, remember the end date that everything's got to be in is the 15th of May. I normally leave a couple of days. I give it about a week of marking, and then a couple of days before it's got to be sent, I'll give it to my exams officer, and she's normally quite good at sending that off. I don't know how I feel about these task 3As this year. I think the AS students have got such good ones. I don't mind these songs, but I mean, I think having La 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 at AS has kind of diminished these ones a little bit for me, but it's still good. So just same things as before. You do need to record a lead part, and you can record up to 3 live tracks. You mustn't use any preloaded samples or loops, things like that, and it must be track 1 of the CD. This is all fairly same as every year, really. We always hit these requirements straight. Princess of China, I think, was the one that was slightly under 3 minutes, so we just added an extra verse and that got that right over, and that was quite good for the students because they got to do some arranging as well. Minimum of 12 tracks. Well, we use about 8 tracks plus just for drums, so that's never hard. Captured with eight tracks captured with microphone. Easy. Now here was the thing. What was that third brief? That was the 6th. That was the video one. That's Nelson Mandela. Where are you from? Yeah, it was a bit dry for me. Write a piece of music about where you're living, any family connections. No, I wasn't really interested in that, but you know, it could be up your alley. And that's it really. Okay, have we got anyone around tonight? Not to worry. Well, I'm going to sign off now. I will see you next week. Next week we're going to look more in depth at task 1A. So please drop by and ask as many questions if you want. If you want to talk about what to expect in task 1A, and I'll also give you an update on what we've been working on in the next couple of weeks.